Hello. Using Mosaic Crochet in the round is fantastic because you can just carry your yarn and don't have any ends to weave in. So today I'm going to show you how to join your rounds when you are using this technique. We're going to start with the basics and then I'll introduce you to a nifty hack you might want to use when your row starts with a double crochet. I've just finished my first row of single crochets and now I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch and join my row with a simple slip stitch join. Now we're going to introduce the second colour for the second row. Leave a bit of a tail and just pull the yarn up through the loop you've already got on your hook. We're going to pull the white one tight and then start row 2.
If the first stitch of the row is a single crochet, then have a look at the row above
single
that.
crochet into
If the first stitch of that row
that's the
is
same
also
one
a single crochet,
you've just
then you will join your
slip
rounds
stitch joined.
with a simple slip
so
stitch.
Make sure not to skip that one. And single crochet into that stitch. And then you just finish the row. When you have completed your final stitch, insert your hook into the first stitch of the row and once again join together with a slip stitch. For row 3, we're once again changing yarn, so I'll pull through the white, give the green a tuck, and then chain 1 and start the next row. This is starting with a double crochet, so I'm finding my first stitch and working a double crochet into that front loop 2 rows down. And then I just continue with my pattern until I've finished the row, and at the end, once again, insert into the first stitch of the row and join with a slip stitch. Now the problem with a slip stitch join is that when your row starts with a double crochet, you still get those little gaps where your background yarn shows. So now I'm going to show you a nifty little trick to avoid that. For my next row, I am back to green, and the row starts with a single crochet that will once again be masked by a double crochet. What we did in row 2 was change colour right at the beginning of the row, then do a chain stitch, and then crochet that first single crochet, all using the green yarn. However, if we don't want the green to show, then what we can do is simply delay the colour change until we're halfway through the stitch. So at the beginning of the row, rather than moving straight onto green, I will continue to work with my white yarn, start with a chain 1, and then start the single crochet into the first stitch. So just pull one loop, and then the final pull through, that's when I introduce my colour change. Pull through both my loops with green, make sure the white hangs out towards the back and not the front, and then just continue with the second stitch as indicated in the pattern and continue to move your way through the row. When you get to the end of the row, so this is the final stitch of the row, it's a single crochet. So again, I'm going to change yarn colours halfway through this stitch. I'm going to pull up one loop and then, before finishing the stitch, move on to my white yarn, and that final pull through of the stitch I will do in white. Give the green a little tuck, and then slip stitch join into the first stitch, which was the white stitch here. Make sure you don't catch the chain instead, but actually that first stitch, it's gone a bit tight, and then slip stitch join to that stitch. Next row is white. We've already got white on our hook, so we can go straight into the chain 1 and then Start with the first double crochet into that front loop 2 rows below, and continue that row all the way around, and when you get to the end, you're back to the simple slip stitch join into that first double crochet of the row. And now you can see that the join is no longer sticking out with the background colour, but you get a much neater finish with that join just blending in. So when do you actually use this join? If your row starts with a single crochet that will be visible in the final pattern, so a single crochet and the stitch above it is also a single crochet, then you introduce your colour change right at the beginning of the row and finish the row with a slip stitch join. If your row starts with a single crochet that will be hidden behind a double crochet, so first stitch of the row is a single crochet, first stitch of the row above is a double crochet, then you will use this invisible join where you delay the colour change until you're halfway through the first stitch, and then when you get to the final stitch, just before the last pull through, you swap back to the other colour and then complete the stitch and the slip stitch join in the colour that you want to show, rather than your background colour. You will use the same technique regardless of whether the last stitch of your row is a single crochet or double crochet. If your row finishes with a double crochet, just start the double crochet, and just before that final yarn over, you will swap colours and finish the stitch pulling through with your foreground colour. And then, like we did for the single crochets, slip stitch join in that colour before you start your next row with that colour and a double crochet. So the only thing that matters in terms of applying the hidden join is my first stitch a single crochet? And if it is a single crochet, is the stitch above it a double crochet? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then you will use this invisible joining method instead of changing colours right at the beginning of the row. So this joining method allows you to get a really nice, neat finish when you're using Mosaic Crochet in the round. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and see you again soon. Bye!